All right. Ready to dive into something, well, pretty massive.
Always up for a challenge.
This time, we're tackling time itself. What is it, really? Why does it feel like it's always moving forward? And would we even be able to think about it without picturing, like, a clock ticking away? Luckily, we've got Stephen Wolfram's thoughts on this.
And he's got a really interesting perspective on it, too. Wolfram's not just a physicist, he's also a computer scientist, the guy behind Mathematica and Wolfram Alpha. So it makes sense that he looks at the universe and time through this computational lens.
Right, right. So no pressure to explain that simply or anything.
Yeah.
But let's start with the basics. I mean, what does it even mean to think of time as being computational?
Well, it means we have to stop thinking about time. Like, it's just this empty thing where stuff happens. Wolfram's saying that time is, like, completely tied to the way the universe computes every single moment. Like, every moment is a calculation building on the one before it.
Whoa. Okay, so you're saying each moment in the universe is like its own unique calculation and it builds on the moment right before it.
Yeah. Think of it like trying to figure out how a deck of cards will be arranged after you shuffle it really well. You can't just skip to the end result, right? You got to shuffle through every single combination to get there.
So it's kind of like the universe is constantly shuffling its own deck of, I don't know, particles and forces. And by doing that, it creates each moment as it goes.
Exactly. Wolfram calls this idea computational irreducibility. Basically, you can't just fast forward to the end of a complex process. Got to go through each step.
So that means we experience time in this linear way, like a straight line, because the universe itself can't skip ahead in its own calculations.
That's the idea. We're basically stuck computing each moment right alongside the universe. We're experiencing time's flow, not just observing it from the outside.
Okay, so if time is this, like you said, this constantly unfolding computation, why do we feel so stuck in the present?
Yeah.
Like, why can't we go back and replay moments or even just like fast forward to the boring stuff?
Well, it kind of comes down to us. We've got our limits, too, as observers. Wolfram calls it being computationally bounded, meaning our brains, they process information at a certain speed, and it's nowhere near as fast as the universe's computing reality, basically. It's like trying to play, one of those super high-tech video games on a really old computer. It can only handle so much at once.
So what you're saying is our perception of time, it's limited by how fast our brains work.
Exactly.
That makes me wonder then, like, what if we could boost that brain power somehow? Would we experience time differently?
That's something Wolfram actually gets into, and it's pretty wild. Imagine if we could process information at the same speed the universe does, or even faster. Time might seem to slow down, or we could even see multiple possibilities all playing out at once. Kind of like,
Like parallel universes. Are you saying that's part of this whole computational time thing?
Kinda, yeah. He calls it the Ruliad. Basically, picture a place with every possible computation happening, every outcome to every event playing out, every what if you could ever think of, all branching out.
Okay, hold on. My brain needs a second to catch up. So the Ruliad, it's like every single possibility is really happening somewhere.
There's a lot to take in, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the basic idea. Every choice, every little event, it's like a fork in the road, creating a whole different set of calculations, a different timeline, you could say.
But if that's true, why do we only experience this timeline, the one we're in? Why can't we, like, jump between them or something?
Right. It's like our perception is the key here. Remember how we talked about being computationally bounded?
Yeah, our brains, like, can't keep up with the universe's calculations.
Exactly. Our brains try to make a story, a timeline that makes sense out of all the information it gets. It's like, even if there are tons of possibilities, our minds just grab onto one, the one that feels the most real to us.
So it's like our brains are, like, editing this huge multi-threaded story, the Ruliad, into our own personal version. That makes me think about, like, time travel. Could we actually travel through time if this whole thing about time being computation is true?
Now that's when it gets really complicated. If we think about time the old way, moving from one point to another, time travel, well, maybe. But if it's all computation, that changes everything. Going back in time would mean undoing every calculation that's happened since then, every single one.
That sounds close to impossible.
Right. It'd be like, imagine trying to put a vase back together after you drop it, but not just piece by piece, atom by atom. Possible, maybe. Realistic, not so much.
So no time-traveling DeLoreans in our future, huh? I gotta admit, kind of a bummer.
Well, hold on, it's not all bad news. Even if jumping through time isn't happening anytime soon, our experience of time, that can be messed with, you know? Like Einstein's theory of relativity talked about with things like how fast you're going and...
Cavity.
Oh, right, time dilation. Does Wolfram's computational model have anything to say about that? Absolutely, like with time dilation. Einstein showed that time slows down if you're moving crazy fast, right? Wolfram thinks that's because moving takes computation. So something moving super fast is using a lot of its computational power just to move, and less for, I don't know how to put it, its own sense of time.
It's like when I have a million tabs open on my computer and everything gets super slow.
Exactly. And gravity, too. Wolfram connects that to places in the universe where there's a ton of computation happening, like black holes. Those things are so dense, even light can't get out.
Yeah, those are still a mystery.
Right. Wolfram thinks they might be places where time gets all weird because there's just so much computation happening there, all packed in.
Okay, my brain is officially fried.
Hmm.
So let me see if I've got this straight. Time is computation, this Rouliad thing, means every possibility might be happening somewhere, and our experience of time is just this limited street-line version of that bigger, crazier reality.
You got it. That's a great way to put it all together.
And Wolfram is out here saying, all this is possible. Wild.
Totally. It makes you think, if that Rouliad has every possible computation, does it also have every possible experience of time, too? Like, what would it even be like to experience time not as this straight line we're stuck with, but something totally different?
Whoa, okay. I think I need a nap after all that, and maybe a whole other deep dive to unpack that question. But for now, this has been an incredible look into the mind of Stephen Wolfram. Thanks for coming along on this wild ride with us. And until next time, keep those brains buzzing.